comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there discuss comics that have been adapted into movies and streaming shows. We have 3 shows out right now: Invincible, The Boys, and Daredevil Born Again. We watch them all, we review them every week, and we review them in the order in which we enjoy them. So that's why Invincible is number 1.
Usually first,
and Brian, we only have one more episode after the one we're talking about today.
It's gone by too fast, man.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to start rewatching this whole show over again. Just, I don't know. I'm gonna miss. I feel like I missed it already.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the algorithms work so quickly, and I feel like my entire Instagram algorithm, it's just my feed is just Thrag, like over and over again. And it's mostly people complaining about Thrag and complaining about the animation of the show, but every so often you'll have the exact opposite, where they'll talk about how awesome Thrag is.
Yeah, I kind of said I was a little lukewarm on Thrag last week, and I've changed my tune.
Oh yeah. Well, this episode was just like I said when I messaged you. It's almost like Dragon Ball Z, where you have these different extremely powerful characters going up against each other, and you get worried because you're like, oh, that one is weaker and less experienced than that one, and you feel like they're going to get taken out. Even though we both know exactly how this is going to play out, I think it was still a very tense, 50 minutes or so?
Yeah, I read this entire series. I have a general idea, a general memory of what happens, but still, it's still exciting to watch. Like, I don't completely remember everything in the order they happened, and I just have kind of vague memories of it. So I thought this episode was fantastic. I absolutely loved that the voice of Argyle was Frank Welker, and that Thetis, aka Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime, basically betrays and kills Megatron.
Yes.
That is like my favorite detail of ever.
Right. It's funny because like assassinating someone is pretty devious and looked at in like a evil way, but Thetis doing that is a noble thing. He's trying to basically get rid of Viltrumite oppression.
Yeah.
And so his ideals are kind of in line with Optimus Prime, but the Viltrumites definitely wouldn't see it that way.
No, and then the next step he takes is also not great.
Yeah, it's horrible, but it's kind of funny because it's effective, right? Like, this is a race of people that would be impossible to stop, and they figure it out. They figure it out by using a virus. In this episode, we see there's different ways to kill Viltrumites as well. Basically, like everything that they've been stockpiling to use against them, they use against them in this episode.
Yes, for sure. And I think my favorite use case was Space Racer riding up and bringing like 6 of those red dragony dudes, lizard dudes.
Yep. Yeah. I guess I kind of anticipated that was going to happen. I didn't realize that they had captured some of those creatures. And so when he's coming at them with the gun, they're kind of preparing to take him out. And he's like, no, you shouldn't be afraid of my gun. And he like whips those creatures right at them. Great moment. I mean, there were so many sort of like mic drop moments in this episode. But what I wanted to go back to was the fact that we have read this comic. We know what's going to happen. I feel like it doesn't matter because the show, it really utilizes the fact that it's in a different medium. Like, I think the fact that it's animated and you can have a soundtrack and you can like elaborate on action scenes, I think that it makes it exciting regardless if you know who's going to die, plot twists and things like that. How do you feel?
And just in general, seeing things in a moving form is better, I think. I shouldn't say that. I said it works well for this genre at the very least.
Yeah, and I feel like any kind of addition that they've made to the show, like that, things that weren't in the comics, I feel like it's usually for emotional beats.
Yeah.
like in the comic, I don't think we have this whole sequence that we had at the beginning of this episode where they show what the hell's the Emperor's name?
Argyle.
Argyle. Okay, so I don't think they show his assassination at all, and then that whole like consequence for him being assassinated, where there's like this purge of the Viltrumites. I don't think they show that in the comics at all.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but I really like how it played out, where Thrag is basically kind of shows mercy towards Thedas for showing weakness in their eyes, showing mercy to other races, and he allows it to continue, and then that's what causes Argyle to get killed, and then the destruction of the race in general eventually. I liked how that sort of informed his decision to have that kind of culling, which I find interesting because everyone, I saw a lot of people comment that it was like 2-on-1s and 3-on-1s and kids ganging up on each other, and it's like, how is that survival of the fittest? I'm like, it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of it's purging those who will kill to survive on command. Basically, it's like keeping the loyal ones there rather than determining strength or weakness.
That's how you read it, is that it was loyalty is what made people join together against the others?
Not a loyalty thing. It's more, it's those that are willing to just murder at the drop of a hat. Yeah, it is a loyalty thing. Yeah, they're basically saying that, like, I will do what my emperor says. I will do whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's something about the concept of survival of the fittest, which, it's taken from Darwin, but I think that it, obviously is misinterpreted, where it seems like the strongest, the physically strongest are the ones that should rule. But it really comes down to who can adapt to the situation best. And the way that they all turn on each other at the drop of a hat, and the way that they're just so cold and merciless to each other, is so utterly disturbing. And they do show children, like you said.
Yeah.
And there's just like blood just filling the streets. Buildings get knocked over because essentially we're having people that are the equivalent of Superman fighting each other.
Yep.
All this like tragic Viltrumite stuff, and they lose their friggin' world in this episode. I completely forgot that they literally blow up the planet.
Yes.
In this arc.
And at first, that scene seemed a little weird. It's like, oh, they're just following that laser bus. But like when I watch it, I'm like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing.
Right.
Before we continue with that, just to sum up my previous statement, I want to say a little more concisely. I think that Thrag regrets hesitating on acting on Thedas, and he wants to cull the Viltrumites of people who will hesitate. So everyone who drops what they're doing to start murdering people is willing to go the direction he wants to go. So he purged those who would hesitate, like he did with Thedas.
Wow. Insanity. Did this episode change your opinion on Lee Pace and his version of Thrag?
Yeah, I think so. I think he did a great job here. He actually gets some moments to do things. Visually, I loved one of my favorite little visual aspects of the show was when Mark first punches Thrag and he just doesn't move. And there's this little flash of like these like red demon eyes. I don't know what the hell that was about, but it looked really cool and it kind of elevated him. I actually think Lee Pace did a really good job. I think it does. I think the voice does fit now. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. That flash with the demon eyes, I saw that a lot on social media. I saw that, and I saw the part when Thrag goes to punch Nolan, and the air around him just sort of coils around his arm. I thought that was such like a Dragon Ball Z type thing right there.
Yeah. They definitely they definitely hype up his level of strength in this, and it lives up to it, I think.
Yeah. I don't know why the fuck people are complaining about the animation for the show. I realize we've kind of said this in each review, but I never look at this show and say, oh, the animation is so poor. I never feel that way. I feel like
I honestly think it's because people compare it to anime.
Okay.
Where generally is a little more detailed and even occasionally more fluid. Like, I'm not saying this looks like South Park or anything like that, but it does lack a little bit of detail, I would say. I still like it. I think it's great for what it is.
Yeah.
I'm really here for those emotional beats and then that great storytelling and just seeing it in another format. I don't need every sequence to look like amazing, and I think this is a lot of things too. Like, I remember specifically people compared this to an episode of Jujutsu Kaisen or JJK, which is a very popular like manga to anime adaptation that just wrapped up its third season. You know, they have episodes of that show where they give you this crazy amount of like lore dumps and rules and all this other mythology building, and people are like, but boring, whatever. But they praise the episodes where it's just like ridiculous fight sequences, and the animation is beautiful. So I think that's what they're comparing it to, and I think maybe that's the audience that's commenting on this I don't know, topic. And maybe not people like us that are here for that read comics for the stories and the writers and the creative ideas rather than just watching pretty pictures. And not to say I don't like pretty pictures and great animation, but I think that some people value things differently.
Right. So I mean, like, there are incredible images in this episode. They take their time blowing up that planet, and they take their time to show each Viltrumite's reaction to what's happening. There's extended fight sequence that's most of the episode with the Viltrumites versus the Force from the Coalition. It's just great, epic storytelling, and I just ate it up, man. Like, I like Nolan fighting Thrag. I like Thrag trying to kind of convince Nolan to come back to the cause, to go after Thetis. I like that Thrag just fucking rips off Thetis's head. Then he
fucks up Oliver too.
Right, rip Oliver's jaw off and his arm, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And then there's the part that I kind of misremembered where Thrag, shoves his hand through Nolan, and I thought that Nolan essentially died from that wound, in the comic afterwards, but apparently, he goes on and he does recover. But then everyone else is able to recover. Like, all the good guys live except for Thetis, right?
Yeah, Thetis was the only casualty, and part of Oliver, I guess.
Yeah. But then they wipe out the Viltrumites to where I think there's only like 6 of them, maybe 7.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how many they actually showed. I mean, if they actually had all 40 something there, it might have been a little different. Because like if I couldn't imagine the 8 of them, even with their advantages, 7 taking on 40 other Viltrumites, including Thrag. So I know a whole bunch of them died from, that little poison dart that Tech Jacket had, and those red lizard dudes, and Battle Beast probably took out a couple, and everybody else. So there's definitely a lot less of them, but I think there's probably more than they showed than in that last scene. When Thrag essentially stops murdering Mark. And there's only like 7 there. Like I feel like there are more out there than just those 7.
Yeah. The setup for the battle itself is, it kind of messes with your head because you have this countless amount of Viltrumites just surrounding the planet, these dead bodies. And so the Viltrumites hide among those dead bodies. Then when the planet itself blows up, you're sitting there kind of like, oh, is that a Viltrumite standing there? Is that a Viltrumite corpse? And so it's hard to kind of gather.
Is that an ancient corpse or is that a fresh corpse?
Right. So it is kind of hard to determine the fallout, but it feels like a victory at this point. And I can't believe that we've made it this far into the show to actually watch this happen.
Yeah, still only about the halfway point of the comic.
I know. So, the last episode will just kind of be like the fallout and following through of what
Well, you
happened.
know what? I guess it is more so Fallout because the stinger we're left on is that Mark realizes they went to Earth. So, and we have an idea of what happens, but I don't know what the viewers will think will happen there.
You're right. Yeah. So we don't have to spoil it for them. Was there any individual moments or anything like that you wanted to touch upon with this episode, or?
Oh man, I definitely wanted to call out the thing we started with Frank Welker as Argyle. Yeah, no, I just other than that and just kind of doing a 180 on Lee Pace and Thrag. I thought this was a great episode, and God, just seeing the scene of them flying to the planet was so good.
Yes,
that's like the top scene in the show for me so far.
Wow.
Like Mark is trying to look back and he's like, Noel's like, no, we have to keep going. And fucking great.
Yeah. I think when I texted you at that moment after I saw it was, what was it that Optimus Prime ordered the Silver Surfer to Death Star Krypton?
Yeah.
Yes. And then you came back to that with something that you saw online, which just it made me so happy in the moment. I have to put it in our viewers' minds too. But you were talking about how online people were making arguments for how Krillin could have taken out Krillin from Dragon Ball Z could have taken out any of the Viltrumites, and I just love that image in my head.
Yeah. There's a long-standing argument on the internet where based on the absolutely ridiculous scales of power in Dragon Ball, Krillin is technically the strongest Earthling. And on even when he's on Namek and he gets his powers awakened by the big green dude, I forget his name, the Kami. No, not Kami. I don't know. They comment that his power level is 17,000 or 23,000 or something like that during that whole Namek saga by the end of it. And in the Dragon Ball world, having a power level of 10,000 is considered a planet busting power level. You could destroy a planet. So if you think about it in that context,
right?
Krillin could probably beat any of the Viltrumites. But again, that's absolutely ridiculous power scaling that makes no sense. None of this makes any sense. It is not physically possible in any capacity. So it's just really a funny anecdote that I like to think about sometimes. But
yes. I would love to see some fan art, that's derived from it. But it's a good segue into our next recording, right? Because our next recording is going to be about the boys, and so I think that everyone watching, and then you and I are on the same page that when it comes to comics, it's Superman is the most powerful of this type of character. Then you'd have Thrag and Nolan, and then you would have Homelander underneath that. But then if we were to bring in anime and Dragon Ball Z, then Goku and Vegeta are way more powerful than Superman.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we could go over and talk about the boys. I mean, these reviews will be nice and short because we're only just doing one episode each.
Yep, and just make sure you check us out next week after we come back for the finale.
Hell yeah, man. Cool. So we will see you guys real soon.